January 6th of 2021 was one of the most shocking days in our country's history, a brazen and deadly attack on our nation's capital.
And tonight, the first televised hearings on the January 6th Capitol riots will air. The committee says for the first time we will see, quote, previously unseen material about the attack.
Now joining us here this morning is Chad Kinsella, a political science professor at Ball State University, to help put this all into perspective and explain what we can expect to see there. Chad, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Chad, it's been almost a year since the 9-member committee began their investigation into the Capitol attack. Can you briefly tell us what we've learned since then?
So they have brought in a lot of different witnesses. They have a lot of information that the public does not have. So they are going to put all of that together. And I think the idea is that they want to set the record straight on what really happened on that day. And they are going to show us some things that the public had previously not been able to see. So I think the biggest thing is that they want to set the record straight and very specifically try to tell the public what happened on that day.
And with those records, 100,000 documents and more than 1,000 interviews, we mentioned previously that unseen information is supposed to be presented. So what could that include?
So there's a lot of different things that could include. So with the documentation and just all the sheer number of interviews, and again, this is kind of guessing at what could happen, but I think they could try to start to lay blame on who made mistakes, where mistakes were made, who was maybe culpable in some of these different attacks.
And many Republicans have not been supportive of this committee, calling it, quote, partisan and even illegitimate. Is this investigation worth it, even if some politicians don't accept the committee's findings or even the outcome?
It is, I would think, because it's a difficult situation given. So in our polarized partisanship right now, this is a select committee, which means that it's a temporary committee. And given that the House is controlled by Democrats, it may come out, and the accusation could be that this is slants a little bit left and maybe makes Democrats look better, Republicans look worse. And you had that before when the Republicans had the House and they did a select committee on Benghazi. So you have that problem, but ultimately the idea is that this is going to set the record straight and provide the public with all of the documents, all of the information, and attempt to go out and explain what happened that day and how this all unfolded, and maybe even why, and maybe who was to blame.
And the 50th anniversary of the Watergate scandal is coming up, and that also, of course, featured a series of primetime televised hearings. So just in a scope here, where do you think the January 6th Capitol attack and these hearings fall in American history?
It is a unique moment. Watergate, my parents are still around, and that was a very the Vietnam War and Watergate were very defining moments for a generation. And there is, in talking with some of my students and things like that, the January 6th, the events that happened there, that might be one of the defining moments for them. And so it will be an interesting and maybe a little bit of a dark part of American history. So I think it will stand out, and this will be something most likely, and I could be wrong, but in the future, people will look back to this and it will be an event to remember. So it will be, I think, an outstanding moment in U.S. history, and I think we're going to find out a lot more about why it happened and what was behind it when the committee releases its findings.
A lot of interesting things are going to be going on, especially as we get closer to polling time. But Chad, thank you so much for answering all of our questions here this morning.
Happy to do it anytime.
Chad Kinsella with Ball State. We'll be right back after the break.